All right, future doctors, welcome. If you're cramming for your MBBS exams, you are in exactly the right place. We're about to do a super fast, high-yield rundown of a bug that loves to show up on tests, Mycoplasma pneumonia. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with a classic exam question. What's the smallest, free-living bacteria and a huge cause of that atypical, walking pneumonia? The answer, of course, is our bug of the day, Mycoplasma pneumonia. This one question actually hits on two of its most critical features, and trust me, by the end of this, you'll see why they matter so much.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll meet the microbe. Then, we'll figure out how it makes you sick, we'll look at the clinical picture, learn how to diagnose it, and finally, talk about how to treat it. Simple as that. Let's get started with Section 1.
Okay, Section 1, Meet the Microbe. And look at that subtitle, The Bacteria Without a Coat. Seriously, if you remember one single thing about mycoplasma, remember this. It's like a knight going into battle without any armor. This one little fact changes absolutely everything.
Now, mycoplasma kind of has an identity crisis, which makes it a perfect topic for tricky exam questions. On one hand, it's so tiny it can pass right through filters meant to stop bacteria, just like a virus. But make no mistake, it is a bacterium. It's free-living, we can grow it in the lab on artificial media, and it divides by binary fission. It's this weird mix that you have to know.
And you know how examiners love to use old names to trip you up? Well, be ready. Mycoplasma has a couple of aliases. It used to be called PPLO, which stands for plural pneumonia-like organism. You might also see it called Eaton's agent. You need to know all three.
To make this super easy to remember, we can actually use that old name, PPLO, as a perfect mnemonic. The first P is for pleomorphic. Because it has no rigid cell wall, it can be all sorts of shapes. The second P is for poorly gram staining. Again, no cell wall means the gram stain just doesn't work. L is for lacks a cell wall, this is the big one, the most important point, and O is for organism, as in the smallest free-living one. PPLO. Got it? Good.
So what? Why do we care so much about this missing cell wall? Here's why, and this is a guaranteed exam question. If you give a patient a penicillin, or any other beta-lactam antibiotic that works by attacking the cell wall, what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. It's like trying to knock down a wall that isn't there. Mycoplasma is just naturally, completely resistant.
Okay, let's move on. Now that we know what this strange little bug is, let's look at how it actually makes people sick.
The whole process is basically a three-step attack. First, you breathe in respiratory droplets from someone who's sick. Then, the bacteria uses this special grappling hook called the P1 adhesin protein to latch onto the cells lining your airway. And finally, once it's attached, it starts causing damage and inflammation. So, transmission, attachment, and injury.
So, what does this infection actually look like in a patient? Let's dive into the clinical picture. It's famous for causing walking pneumonia, but believe me, there can be a few nasty surprises.
Most of the time, it's just a mild sore throat or bronchitis. But the classic presentation is atypical pneumonia. We call it walking pneumonia because the person usually feels sick, but not sick enough to be stuck in bed. Think a gradual start with a dry, hacking cough that just won't quit. But don't forget these rare but high-yield complications. It can mess with the nervous system, causing things like Guillain-Barré, and even trigger severe skin reactions like Stevens-Johnson syndrome.
Okay, time for Section 4. Let's put on our lab coats. A patient comes in, you suspect mycoplasma. How do you prove it? This is crucial stuff for your practicals.
Hey, remember that old name, PPLO? Well, the lab folks didn't forget it. The special media you need to grow this fussy little bug is called PPLO agar and PPLO broth. See? Knowing those old names comes in handy.
And if you successfully grow it on PPLO agar, this is what you'll see. This is the money shot, the classic fried egg colony. See that dense part in the middle that grows down into the agar with a flat, filmy layer around it? You see this picture on an exam, your brain should immediately scream mycoplasma.
So let's quickly summarize your diagnostic options. You can culture it to see those fried eggs, but it can take up to 3 weeks. Way too slow. Serology, like an ELISA, is faster. But really, the king of diagnostics today is PCR. It's the most sensitive and specific test by far. In the clinic, PCR is the way to go.
All right, let's bring it all home with our final section. We've identified the enemy. Now, how do we win the fight against this little bacteria without a coat? Okay, time for some active recall. We've talked about this already. Based on its number one key feature, no cell wall, which huge class of antibiotics is totally 100% useless here? Think about it. That's right, the beta-lactams, penicillins, cephalosporins, they have no target.
So what do we use instead? It's simple. The drugs of choice are the macrolides. Azithromycin is your best friend when fighting mycoplasma. It works by shutting down the bacteria's protein factories, a target that Mycoplasma definitely has.
And what if you can't use a macrolide, say due to resistance or an allergy? No problem. You've got great backup options. Doxycycline works beautifully, and so do the respiratory fluoroquinolones like levaquin or moxifloxacin.
Let's end on one final clinical pearl to lock all this in. We know Mycoplasma is more than just a lung bug. So which severe, potentially life-threatening skin condition should always be in the back of your mind as a possible complication? The answer is Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Never ever forget that connection. Okay, that's it. Hope this helps. Good luck with your studies.